Okay, so we hear a lot about creativity and innovation these days. I am no expert in either or. You just heard a talk by Karen, really good talk. She's an expert. I'm just going to tell you about personal experience at work that ended up in an innovation. Let me just mention that it seems like we're all in this mode of last-minute panic, and we're trying to be creative while being overloaded with work and having all these pressures for deadlines and everything else. Everybody knows about that. It's really hard to be creative in this type of environment and extract free thinking from your brains and take steps back. That's really hard to do in this kind of environment. So we really have to make an effort to take steps back and take time to do that. And look at the problems from a different perspective than we always do on our day-to-day basis. So I'm going to just tell you what I do, the way I try to be creative at work, and it seems to work for me. So. Anybody sleeping yet? No? Okay. All right, can anybody see these slides in front? No? Good, okay. Because that's the whole point, is not being able to see what's written up there. I'm not going to go through a long PowerPoint presentation and give you all the boring details about how this new dispersion method enabled integrating more randomness and using trigonometric functions to include more physical randomness in the models, and then all of that led to better simulations and cost savings and lowered program risks. I'm not going to tell you all about that because that would be really boring and you'd all fall asleep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to talk about what unconsciously might have led to the idea of this new dispersion method for dispersing aerodynamic data. I basically realized it was probably several weeks or maybe even months after I came up with the idea. I was trying to figure out a tune on the piano, and I realized that what I was doing to figure out the tune by ear was the exact same process that I had been doing at work with this data. I thought that was really interesting, and I was wondering if all of the activities that we do outside of work might actually influence our thinking at work. So I'm going to try to make an analogy here using this PowerPoint presentation and the piano between this dispersion method, for aerodynamic data, and how I try to figure out a tune by ear. So here it is. Here's some aerodynamic data. And there's obviously a big uncertainty band around it because we're never really sure about the data we take in wind tunnels, so we put a big uncertainty band around it. Since we want to make sure that we predict exactly what's going to happen on the day of flight, we have to disperse this data. And so we disperse it, we shift it all up, or we shift it all down. And we do that multiple times to make sure that we don't miss anything, and we cover this whole band. So we do it multiple times. Next slide. There we go. And we cover the whole band that way. Well, it turned out that this traditional method didn't really represent physically what was happening in flight. The simulations turned out to be much worse than what we were expecting. So it just had some flaws in its design. And so the other, next slide, the new dispersion method, what it does, instead of shifting up or down, it wiggles the data. It varies, randomly varies the data around this mean value, the black curve that you see here. Okay, and then I can do that multiple times, and next slide, and I can cover the whole band of uncertainty that way. Well, what I'm going to do, if you go to the next slide, I'm going to have you. I'm going to try to find a tune that I've got in my head on the piano, and I'm going to have you guess. First one that guesses what the tune is, you can just yell it. Gets a piece of French candy that I brought back from France last week. So I've got it right here. Okay. And there'll be another chance later on to get one, so don't all fight for it. Okay. Okay, so here it goes. I'm going to try to, let's see. Okay, so this is I'm going to try to figure out this tune. How's it go? Nope, that's not it. So I'm transposing it now because it's too low. There we go. Oh, wow, that was good. Catch it. Sorry, I'm a horrible thrower. So he guessed it, Charlie Brown. Thanks for spoiling it, by the way. I'm just kidding. So to do the analogy, what I'm doing is I'm transposing this because it's either too low or it's too high. It's not working, so I'm transposing it, but at the same time, I'm also varying, not just doing a whole shift up or down, I'm also varying the notes to catch the right one. So that's not right, so I keep going. That sounds about right. So there we go. So let's see if I can find it. Okay, that turned out okay. So that's kind of the analogy I realized much later on, and I thought it was interesting. So I think that all of the things that we do outside of work, I put some there, but you might have others that you would add. The main one for me is music, but there's all the rest too. I think everything that we do influences our thought processes. But that's not enough just to have that. You need to have time, next slide, when you're at work, you need to have time to make these links between your outside influences and your inspirations and what you do at work. If you don't have time for that, it's not going to happen. So what I do is I personally just schedule Friday mornings for personal research that's linked to my projects, but not that I wouldn't have done if I didn't have the deadlines. So I schedule that for that, and then Friday afternoons for any research topic that I'm interested in. It doesn't have to be related to my projects. It turns out sometimes there's a meeting or fire alarm, whatever, so it doesn't always happen, but probably 10 or 15% of my time I try to do that. So that's just my way to take time to take a step back and try to develop new ideas that I have. And then you try your ideas. A lot of them don't work, obviously, and you find new challenges by trying different solutions and different things. You can solve hard problems that way, iteratively, and then you can improve existing methods. You learn from your mistakes, and then the key thing is really to persist. Because if you give up as soon as you see it's not working, and then you're not really gonna innovate. So, and then try again. So that's all I had for the eyes of innovation. They're different than what you saw from Karen, because I don't know what I'm talking about. So here's a good example of this is Thomas Edison's lab. It's funny, we both, Karen and I, use the same example, Thomas Edison. That's his lab in Menlo Park, New Jersey. It's now at the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan. I saw this picture and I noticed something funny about it. If the first person to notice something that's kind of out of place in this lab will get another piece of French candy. So, nope. Yep. Pipe organ in the back. Good job. There's a pipe organ in the back, and these guys, Thomas Edison and his colleagues, they were crazy. They would work really long hours, and they ended up, at midnight still in the lab. And what they'd do is they'd gather around this organ and start playing and having fun and relaxing, and then get back to work. And I think that was a good example of taking time. People that are really innovative, taking time to have fun and clear their mind, take a step back, and then maybe have even better ideas when they get back to work. So I think that being creative most of the time doesn't lead to innovations, that's for sure. But you cannot innovate without creative thinking, so you need to take time to do that. And when it does lead to an innovation, it's really great. It's a great feeling, and it's well worth the extra effort. So I just love doing it, so I recommend that everybody do it too. And then another thing is stay imaginative, keep your imagination open and flowing, because if you don't, poor Hobbes turns into a puppet again. So that's just not fun. So I'm just going to end up this talk with a little blues.
Jeremy, that was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Again, we can open up the session for any questions that anyone may have pertaining to Jeremy's method and how he was able to be innovative in his work environment. Anyone? Yes, hold on. Let me get the...
Have you tested your new dispersion method against the old way of doing it? And if so, how did the two compare?
The two gave very different results, but the new method does not discard the old one. You can do a combination of both. So it's really on a case-by-case basis.
Any other questions?
I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what really drove you to focus your time, your white space time, on this particular problem that you addressed.
What drove the time?
What drove you to spend your time?
Oh, okay. Well, I guess it's last year. Charlie Harris, and the research director, really said that go ahead and take time to be creative. He went in all branches and said that. So I started just scheduling my Fridays to doing things like that. And it turned out that I came up with this, or I had the idea one day and then worked on it on a Friday morning, Friday afternoon. It worked great, and then we implemented it, and 2 weeks later, it showed great results. It could have shown awful results, and that would have been fine too, but it was great to see the results.
Anyone else? All right, another round of one more question.
So your boss said take a certain period of time and be innovative. And I'm just wondering, well, you may not know, but do other bosses around here do that?
I don't know. That's a good question. I know my boss is here, and he supports that. So
yes, other bosses do.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. And really, sometimes, like I said, there's meetings and things like that, and you don't do it every Friday. You do it every other Friday. You end up really spending 10, 15% of your time doing it. And I think it's well worth the time when things like that come out of it.
Okay, another round of applause for Jeremy, please. Thank you.